And I don't know that it's my favorite topic, but it seems like that's the most difficult. And in fact, on the ICF educators community, we've recently had a really long conversation about what is the demonstration of setting the agreement. So there's still big confusion even among assessors as to what that is. But what I find is most of the time, somewhere at the beginning, just to almost check it off, most coaches ask, like, so what do you want out of our time together? Or what do you want out of this session? Okay, that's a demonstration of 3.1, but it's not enough to get the competency. And it's usually a throwaway question, because if you ask it too early, they're just going to tell you what their problem is. They're not going to tell you what they want as a result of if something were to change, or they could create something. So even at the point of, I see you're talking to each other. We can all see your chat. So even when you start coaching, I always say, just open the session. Don't worry about the agreement. Just ask the person what's on their mind. You need to hear their story. What is the story they're bringing? And if they're not even sure, I have clients that are busy at work and they're like, oh, I don't know what to talk about today. And I'll just say, well, think back over the week. Was there something that happened that it's like, ugh, it wasn't good? You didn't like the outcome, something irritated you. And we always find something to talk about. And then just listen to their story. The agreement is the agreement of what is it the person wants to create or to change or to have that's not happening now. And the agreement is that you both can see it. It's not vague. It's not, I want to feel better. I can't see feel better. Or I need to make a decision. What will you get? What are you seeking from the decision? It's not an action. It's not an emotion. It really is something else that would be going on. And we have to start somewhere. That something else will often evolve. And then we have to, recognize when it's evolving. But we listen to their story and really listen to the heart of what's making it difficult for them. What's the conflict? What's the confusion, the irritation? And if you're not sure, ask them. So it seems to be that you're confused about, whether you're pleasing your family or choosing something you've always wanted, or that, every time you go to talk to your boss, you don't feel heard, that there's always an interruption and you're told what to do, and that's irritating to you. Just see if you can't pull out the essence of what the conflict, the difficulty is. Get agreement of what that is. And they may say, no, that's not it. And that's great. Like the other day I said in a demo, it sounds like you're, it wasn't surrendering, but it was something like that, giving up. And the person said, no, I'm not at all. And then she told me exactly what she thought, which is great. I don't care. I can be wrong. But find out what's the crux of the difficulty that's making this hard for them to see a way forward. And then you can flip it. So it sounds to me as if what you'd like is to have a better relationship with your boss, or to be able to address what's going on with your boss. So maybe you can shift your conversations, or to find a way of making a decision that suits a lot of people's needs, but also your own, and what might that look like? So we listen for the conflict, we reflect it, make sure we understand what their difficulty is, and then flip it to what would they like to create? What would a change look like if that could happen? What would you like to have that's not happening now? Something like that. And I would say use their words. So I just gave you 3 generic questions. I don't want you to remember and ask generic questions, because that's very formulaic and it's certainly not MCC. Okay. So you listen to what the conflict, and then you flip it to, so it sounds to me like what you would like to have is this. Is that true? Tell me more about that. What would that look like? Why? And then you can get into, why is that important to you now? And the big question is, to get this competency met, what do you need to resolve, or what needs to be addressed, or what do you need to deal with, to help you get to the outcome that you want? So those are the three key points. Is, we agree to what it looks like that you want to create, not what your problem is, but what you want instead. I understand, the significance of this to you. And the big thing, what is it that needs to be addressed or resolved? That what needs to be addressed or resolved then leads into the rest of the coaching, and it ties to competency 8, where they commit to taking at least one step, one action to resolve, that's going to resolve and move them closer to what they want. Competency 3 and competency 8 are intertwined. And if you don't get the first one, in competency 3, setting the agreement, right, you're not going to get competency 8. But even if you don't, do one or the other, you don't pass, because there's only 8 competencies. So those are the critical pieces. And then all the other things about listening and being present, and, asking about what's going on and who is this person, will come into that container. And I want to just say one more thing about the who. That's also critical, that you address the who at an MCC level. It's a marker, and it's a must. And but again, don't do it formulaically up front just to throw it in there. So who are you in this? It has to be, once the agreement is, and they talk about, or it could even be when they're talking about the problem. It's like, so, I go in, and this is what happens in this meeting or this boss. Then you might say, so in that moment, in that meeting, who are you? Who are you bringing into this meeting? How would you define yourself? What if they say, well, I'm the auditor? Well, give me an adjective. So is this like aggressive, silent partner? Tell me a little bit more about who you are in that moment. How do you see yourself? Because I often find that that definition of self in that moment is also part of the problem. If you don't do it then when you agree to what it looks like that they want, then you might say, okay, here's what I hear that you want. So tell me who you are. If this is the picture that you're creating, when you step into this picture, who are you? So the who question comes either with the conflict or the agreement. So it has to be in context. Okay, otherwise it doesn't count. It doesn't count. And you're often going to find that shift in identity of, who am I? Who am I really in this? Or who is it that I want to call forth? Who is it that I want to be? Is often what the coaching's around. I'm finding that more and more and more, that once, we get to the agreement and I say, okay, tell me who that person is, that in that picture, who are you? So what's holding you back from being that? How are you defining yourself that doesn't match with that more and more my coaching is identity based on that, but it comes in with the agreement of who it is they want to be and who they want to call forth. And that's the most powerful coaching, I think, that you can do, is shifting that sense of who I am, because that changes the actions. They know exactly what they need to do once they understand who they want to be. And even if they can't be that today, what's it going to take to claim that person, to be that person in those meetings, with that, in that relationship, in that future you want to create. Okay. And again, I'm finding this is to be more and more. I've got something in my eye. Please excuse me. that's the crux of it. If we don't do that right, you're coaching, they may enjoy the time with you because they get a chance to talk in a safe space, but it doesn't mean that they're really having the big change that's necessary. They may go do something different, but they're not there. It's just a cognitive process. It's not a, new connections and neurons and creative insight that changes their being and their doing, which is what we're aiming for. And that's coaching.